Hi everyone, welcome to our Mastering AI series, More Sales with AI. My name is Soraya and I'm your host for today. A little bit about us. I'm a founder and CEO of sales and marketing at IQ with combined experience in marketing, sales, market expansion, as well as consulting. I work in different countries together with B2B companies such as Software AG, Aramco, F5 Networks. And today I'm accompanied by Ziggy, who is also my business partner, who will be introducing himself later on. And what is IQ? So we are a company specializing in applied AI based in Wiesbaden, Germany. We bring automation to the industry to enable a healthier and better community. So we help companies in designing, prototyping, and develop customized AI software, and we provide platforms for professionals and individuals to upskill themselves on automation and AI. So Mastering AI series is 5 sessions of online series to support professionals in adopting AI in a strategic manner. The focus is on demonstrating how we could solve real world challenges across various use cases. And we have the schedule. If you would like to know more about it, there's a link on the chat box, so you can just directly click on it. And if you have not signed up to the series yet, feel free to do that through the form and you will get updates from us. So Ziggy will later will take over from this point onwards and he will introduce himself and provide you with the presentation. So Ziggy, the stage is yours.
Okay, gonna take it off. Quick introduction from my side. Also co-founding IQ and been in the larger data and machine learning and AI industry for more than 8 years now. It's been what I was doing since university, basically, and currently not only working for and with IQ, but also at the Fraunhofer Research Institute, where I dedicate most of my focus on adopting AI and allowing companies to pick up the topic as quickly as possible. With IQ, we develop and we are more deeper into like planning processes and so on. But this is what you get from me. So practical knowledge, a little bit of like from the development side of view. But I really enjoy the conversations on how to make all of this valuable for companies and for the different disciplines that we have across companies. So sales, marketing, analytics, service, software. That's why we have set up this Mastering AI series. And today, since we are here for the sales session, we intend this for sales leaders and managers, for business developers, for maybe also entrepreneurs or solopreneurs who are non-technical people, surely enthusiastic about technology. They want to learn, they want to get the best out of their team and their sales function and activities in general. But what we show today will certainly elevate you above the beginner level and understanding. But we are still confident enough to say that you don't have to be a techie to get all of the things that we show you today going. And when it comes to what we want to show you and how you should prepare your mindset for this, we thought that you should sort of treat this as a tutorial. So it's totally fine if you, for instance, afterwards check the recordings again on YouTube, because we will provide them on our YouTube channel. We will also provide the slides, and should you watch the recording, stop, read the full content of what we have prepared there. At some point, it can feel like a lot of information and knowledge, but it's intended to be so because we feel that we also want to level you up if we can. Again, you don't have to be afraid that it's going to get too technical or what, but we at least want to inform you on the most crucial points with some actionable how-to knowledge that we use day in, day out when we prepare like prototypes and demos and MVPs and whatnot we develop. So therefore, what's our main focus is to equip you with the knowledge to identify and brainstorm on AI use cases for sales. We also want to show you how you can get started once you have an idea, because there are so many things that you could do. It's quite likely that you already have an idea that you want to try out, prototype, experiment, and we're going to show you how you could find a start on that. And lastly, to evaluate whether that thing is actually worth something, we want to show you how you can tackle the question of evaluating the viability of some idea, be it the use case at the earlier stage or afterwards the prototype. All right, now as the stage is set, just structured in the agenda for today, we want to, in the first chapter, dive into how to find the right use cases. This will be a very important topic, and we're gonna put a lot of energy into that. Decide for the first project. We also want to provide you with some evaluation criteria that you can use to go through a structured decision-making process, potentially with your team. All of the content is designed to be used by teams, such as if we would do it in a workshop process, for instance, where some of this material actually comes from. Then chapter 3, start with a prototype, and then we're going to actually make a tiny demonstration how such a prototype could look like, so that you don't go out of the session without actually having looked at one of these prototypes or prototypical efforts. And lastly, we want to evaluate a prototype as well, or show you how you could evaluate that. All right, now first chapter, how to find the right use case. Because we think that before you actually start and pick up the first I don't know, experiment and so on, it could actually be worthwhile having a little bit of an orientation and understand the basic mechanisms that are at work to pinpoint on what's the most valuable thing you should do next, together with your team or maybe for yourself. And one important mechanism that I wanted to highlight is the AI flywheel. This got this was familiarized by Andrew Ng, who's a researcher, and it's highlighting the major mechanics of an AI solution and what power could lie in it as you get it going. So this is plenty, and there's so much on this slide. We should go through it one by one, maybe following the numbers. So imagine you at the start have a very simple application. It could be, or a product. It could be a simple AI tool that helps your sales team to recommend which leads are the most promising, or it creates some email opening lines whatsoever. And then once this has been provided, it is being picked up by your sales representatives who use it. And with the first usage, they create data that stems from the activity. And the more people use it, the more data they create, and then you have a little bit of stock or storage of activity data that an AI can pick up. And this data could be, I can highlight what I have written down here. Again, this is all available for you to read it up later on as well. Which leads actually converted after the AI flagged them as promising? Which AI suggested email lines got the best open and reply rates? What are the common objections for deals that didn't close? How long did calls last with certain types of leads, and so on? So this data you get as it starts. And certainly this data will also be the data that is fed into the AI. And the more data you feed into the AI, the better actually the results that it feeds back to the users. And this is where the wheel starts spinning. The more usage, the more data. The more data, the better the AI. The better the AI, the more likely it is that users gonna use it and therefore create more data. I think you would agree that at some point, this wheel creates some speeds as you push it enough. It can get a very powerful effect, though, and even self-reinforcing, though it can be hard to get going. And one major aspect that we learn here as well is if we want to use this basic understanding of how mechanically product design works, then we have 3 anchor points from which we can derive a use case. So we could focus on certainly the AI. So there are so many AI tools and new technology hitting the industry. We could search for new use cases here, or we could wonder, hey, we have so much data, maybe there's something valuable in the data. Or we could check with the users. All 3 approaches are valid, and we want to show you how you could approach it. Let's go one by one. The user focus. This is focusing on your sales team's problems and insufficiencies. And many of these you might know yourself. One could be the time drain, such as, if your sales reps could magically get back 3 hours each day, what tasks would they stop doing and what critical selling activities would they do more of, you could wonder. But you also surely know if I only knew this particular piece of information moment. Maybe this is something where you want to think about a lead's true intent or perfect talking point, which deal is very important, which one could go sideways. Do we see some early indicators? Frustration points. What are the most common complaints you hear from your sales team? Very often it's related to CRM tools and workflows, repetitive tasks. Missed opportunities. This can be painful because you waste your time. You have leakage in your leads, poor qualification, the outreach is not really good, so you're just wasting your efforts. Consistency challenge. You have some sales reps who are very good, outperform in a given region or on some leads, and then you have another sales rep appears to have similar regions, similar leads, but just doesn't get going. So what could be the things that are hindering these people? And for the managers, always interesting focus point, the crystal ball. So could we predict one thing with high accuracy to help managers coach their team or plan resources better, what would it be? These are, of course, just some suggestions to let's say, stimulate your creativity. As we have just started this process, actually suggest that you take a piece of paper and note all of your ideas that come to your mind, how you could or want to use AI in your sales activities. Just write them down and pick them up later on, and we're going to show you how you can pick them up effectively. All right, then data focus. So this is about deconstructing the sales function by looking deeply into the data flows. First thing comes to mind, CRM, right? Don't we have a treasure chest there? So what could be some of the leads, common characteristics, won leads or deals and lost deals? What's the customer interaction history? Next, we could also think of, hey, what is the voice of the customer actually in our data? What if we recorded all sales calls, had all emails, the whole chat log? Could we derive something from that? Also thinking of the performance data, looking historically across all of our sales activities, such as win rates, sales cycle length, deal size, and so on. What could it tell us to predict the future or future outcomes and identify some areas of improvement? Also quite an popular topic, untapped data streams. So we might have data sources where we collect something, but we never really used it to make decisions or improve sales processes. So have we exhausted all of our data, or isn't there anything that could be valuable, such as website engagement, marketing campaign responses, product usage data? Could be so much. This comes in combination usually also with connecting different data sources. So different systems, CRM, marketing automation, customer support. If we put these together and merge some of the data points, do we see something emerging from that? And one thing that we could take as a motivation could be thinking of a 360-degree customer view in order to improve our sales conversations. And the last one, what if? The what if data scenarios. That is quite interesting if you already have some AI in mind. So if you wanted to build an AI to predict X, whatever that might be, the next best product or likelihood of a lead to convert, what data points would we wish to have in order to make that happen? That's also quite powerful. So all of these questions could be a trigger for you to create or to derive a new use case. So again, keep writing down the ideas that you have for AI use case at that point. And lastly, the AI focus, which would basically be a breakdown of the relevant AI or machine learning core capabilities that we know. The most basic set is in the area of data analytics. So not very sophisticated. We're just working with averages, with simple trends, and we can already do a lot. We can do forecasting and predictions. We can also detect anomalies at that point if we see some unusual patterns. Usually, if you have a dashboard which visualizes your data on a graph across time and you see some outliers, here you go. It's very simple sometimes. Next category can be a little more sophisticated. and it falls into the so-called traditional AI or machine learning, where you work with more sophisticated algorithms, or you try to train simple statistical models to predict something on the back of data. Here, categorization, segmentation, for instance, how could AI help us automatically categorize leads with greater accuracy or segment our customer base? This is a very, very common case, but it goes beyond the simple categorization of like, okay, this is like a customer demography, and you go more into behavioral and needs-based segmentation. Recommendation is also there, next best action, for instance. Then the newer or more sophisticated category of AI capabilities could be in the generative AI field, content creation. So what could be a text snippet that we want to use for sales reps to use in their emails, follow-ups, or proposals. Or information synthesis and summary. So could AI help us quickly summarize long transcripts, complex customer histories, and lengthy product documents into concise and actionable insights, or even derive offerings from that? As you have started writing down your ideas for how your AI use case idea could look like, you will quickly come into the situation that you want to communicate it and share it with your team or with a partner or someone whom you feel like you want to get feedback from. And one thing that you should certainly do is bring your use case into a structure. You can perfectly use large language models for this very purpose. We ourselves do that as well. We have even created a little tool to demonstrate this capability of AI. Very, very simple. You can look it up on this link here, open source on Hugging Face. You can even copy paste the source code. It's totally open source. And what it would do is to pick up a use case and structure it into what's the problem, what's the idea, meaning to say proposed solution, who are the people involved, stakeholders, users, or beneficiaries, what's the outcome, expected benefits and value, and also the how component. So how could potentially the core functionality look like? What are the technologies involved and so on? So this should sum up the use case stage. So if you were wondering, okay, how am I supposed to actually sequentially or structurally format my use case? This is its suggestion. All right, we go into the next point of our agenda, and it is to decide for the first project. Because given that you had a long list of ideas, you also want to find a way how to inform what would actually be the first project that I want to tackle. And then make sense of the little portfolio that you have created and structure that out. Gonna give you a couple of ideas for evaluation. Evaluation criteria can come in categories, and each category can be broken down into factors. The first category that we want you to think of and discuss with your team as well is strategic alignment. So does this AI tool directly help us with our strategy, mission, long-term goals? Might be technically brilliant, but financially and financially attractive, but totally in a vacuum when it comes to how it works for our business. The factors that you could plot out here is, or the process that you could go through is understanding what strategy it actually addresses, map the project against the goals, assess how it contributes, and then once you qualitatively understand how it contributes, you can quantify that, which can emerge in a number of 30, 40%. You should always validate that by relevant stakeholders so that you have the external validity of a number that comes out of such a process. But that can be quite powerful if you have, let's say, 10 use cases, and then you can compare across all use cases where do you have the biggest contribution towards strategy. Next, economic viability. What are the economics? Here, usually we're looking into return on invest, we're looking into net present value, but also into total cost of ownership. So on the one hand, we of course want to understand where is the return potential of this, and also of course what do we need to invest in order to get this going. So for instance, if we need to hire data scientists to maintain or retrain models, cloud computing resources, or integration to a CRM system, this can all be cost. And and that is a very crucial step actually, you want to quantify the AI benefits, then you could potentially think of the productivity gains or accuracy that you gain in a qualitative way. So you increase the quality here. You could potentially reduce customer churn. You could save cost. And this can all inform how valuable your use case could potentially be. Next, also very crucial, technical feasibility. So can we actually build this thing? Is the technology ready? Is it mature enough? Do we have the skills? What about our existing systems? Are they ready? And here again, in this category, we can structure the overall assessment across multiple factors. Each factor can be rated across a scale as well. You could imagine a Likert scale of like 1 do not fulfill or not fulfilling much to 5 fully fulfilling, and so on. Here we have technology as it's available and mature, compatibility and integration, very important in the sales sector with CRM, let's say Salesforce or HubSpot as the usual suspects, but it could also be your ERP system. Scalability, can we scale this up from one team to another team, potentially across regions or more capabilities? Is it available across, or do we have resources available? Do we have people who can actually do that? Is our IT department ready for that? Is our data ready for that? Do we have high quality data that can be used right away? Is it accessible? Is it clean? And a little more optional, I would say, is that you can also use technology readiness levels for when having some technology assessment to wrap it up as well. We'll not go into that. We'll get too technical. Another category that you should for sure look into is risk assessment. What could go wrong is the leading question here. And this can be informed across the following factors: strategic risk. Are we under the risk of running into a situation where the model could be obsolete in the future, or is it the right strategic formula? Technical risk, such as what if the integration to the CRM breaks? And AI-specific risks, such as data quality. The historical data needs to be representative enough so that for future use, it can be used without bias. Model performance and reliability. Is the model good enough? Can we trust the AI in that regard for that? And also transparency and explainability. So if we have a lead scoring algorithm there, and then there is a 95 as a lead score, do we actually understand what that means? What does a 95 mean? What does a 90 mean? What does a 100 mean? Is it better? Is it worse? How can we make sense of that? Further aspects could be cost of error, over-reliance and misuse, ethical concerns, and so on. All of these things you should thoroughly look into, particularly if you work in medium-sized and larger organizations where you want to make sure that as a team, you make the right decisions. All right. And lastly, the organizational readiness. This is, I would say, an optional category. We don't always do it. But in organizations where you have a feeling that they are split up across different organizational units, and they also want to have across the different units a little bit of a feeling of, okay, are we actually ready within this organizational unit, within our team? Are we ready for this use case across other use cases as well? Things that can be of a concern here are, do we have the resources? Do we have the skills? How about our leadership? Do our managers actually need a little bit of tools for that? What is our culture? Do we have a more gut feel and traditional driven approach, or are we very data driven and innovation focused? How about change and commitment? Are we ready to take new tools and introduce them into our processes? And this can, of course, be even more nuanced and so on. And as you have this evaluation done across the different use cases, you can plot them quite neatly across the different categories, across the different factors, and make a summary plot as we have suggested one here. This one here is value against feasibility, so technical feasibility and economic value. A couple of things emerge here quite easily. So there are these quadrants that are quite, yeah, well, one is pretty much a no-brainer, high value, high feasibility, first priority, you should focus on that. Then it gets more interesting if you look at high value, but feasibility is hard. Then question is, can we reduce complexity a little bit? And what if the value is not astonishingly high, but feasibility is very good? In this regard, of course, we want to focus on the efficiency. So can we get that done without a lot of investment? So in order to squeeze out more value of that. And here the question to you, now that you have your list of use cases, what is actually your top use case? What would be first priority to you? Do the evaluation, do it in a structured way so that you can compare across all of the use cases. And then it's always quite fun to see how such an evaluation matrix then emerges, and then you can, for your own little portfolio of use cases, decide how a roadmap could look like, starting with the first priority, then the ones that are high value and feasibility stuff, and then also with the low value, high visibility use cases you can carry on. All right. Then in our agenda, we already move ahead into prototyping. How do you start with that? And here I think we should highlight that very aspect why we want to do prototyping and experimentation. And as you can see here with our little graphic, we want to sketch out something which is just good enough so we can, for ourselves, understand that if we expose what was in our mind conceptually with all of the assumptions that we have taken, if we expose that to the target users, would that actually be usable? Is it feasible in a technical way? And do we get the value out of the proposition as we have proposed it at the beginning? The prerequisites for starting into experimentation are three components. First one is the use case, structure it out, have the problem clearly stated out, understand what's the process, and very, very importantly, understand the goals. If you followed what we have just described, you are surely good enough. Then data. Data is always very interesting because people assume that you need all of the data in order to start with a given prototyping session. It's not the case. You only need that data that is necessary for testing a given scenario or functionality. So in that regard, focus on what is available, potentially anonymize if you, in case you cannot trust the systems that you are working with, and make sure that it's really relevant, just the data that you need for the given or chosen test case. Next question is team, whom to invite into such a session. Subject matter experts are quite critical because these are the ones who can assess the quality of an AI-generated result. Technical people would also be great because they can assess how to integrate something into an existing system. And then, after all, responsible people who can assess the business added value for that. One thing that's missing so far is how do you actually do that in terms of the tooling? So if I want to get my hands on it, how to do that? And here you should be absolutely clear about starting simple and focus on prompting as it is outlined on this slide. You should focus on pre-trained large language models and prompt engineering, and should not go into training a model yourself or fine-tuning unless it's absolutely required and you cannot find your way around it. Reason is, training a model yourself, fine-tuning as well, is quite costly and it takes a lot of time. Prompting, even if it's iterative refinement and retrieving data and adding to your prompt is by far not as laborious as fine-tuning or training a model yourself. So you should absolutely focus on prompt engineering. How do you do that? Prompt engineering, you might wonder. We have a whole series on prompt engineering called Prompt Lab. You can look that up. I have taken one slide from our series, which is about the prompt structure. And there is a lot more to it, actually, that you can check in our videos. But for what is worth noting is that you should definitely think of having the right goal and instruction specified in your prompt, as well as examples and output format and context information, potentially also what role or persona the AI should take as you prompt it. The better your prompt is structured, the higher the likelihood for a reliable behavior of the model. Let's look into a small demonstration. The case is very simple. What we want to have set up as a little proof of concept is generating actionable leads and talking points from the back of a CRM entry. And we're going to mock it up a little bit. The core functionality that we want to demonstrate is that we want to have a concise summary of the context of a lead. We want to have the specific and actionable talking points. That, of course, for a sales rep. And we want to have a suggestion for an opening question for when you are on a sales call. What data are we feeding this process with? It comes from the CRM system. This is all fictional. Let's assume there's the Innovatech Solutions company, the SaaS company, small, medium business. There is Sarah Chen that we want to address. She recently downloaded our white paper. And from our CRM, we have the previous notes that we met her at the Tech Forward conference, and she expressed general interest in improving team efficiency and mentioned challenges with manual data entry across different systems. We have a solution for that, actually, and this we will provide as a data input as well. It's the Flow Optimize Pro. It's our flagship workflow automation software designed to connect disparate tools, automate repetitive tasks, and reduce manual data entry for SMBs. Sounds quite perfect for Sarah Chen, if you ask me. How could you quickly spin up a prototype on this? This is purely done with prompt engineering. So we could think of a system prompt where we define that the AI should behave as a sales assistant. Goal is to help sales representatives prepare for calls by providing concise, actionable insights, talking points based on lead information. The task is to analyze the provided lead data and our relevant product information, and then generate a lead summary, key talking points, 3 points, and suggested open question. And the output format should be a lead summary, key talking points, and the suggested question. And then this is what we have wired into the system, let's say. Then comes the user prompt, where we actually ask the system and provide it with the data that we allegedly have in the CRM system. So company name, industry, the lead, Sarah Chen, recent activity, previous notes, and our product, I will not read it out because it would be a repetition of what we just have seen in the data. And this is what we sent to the AI. And here you go. This is an exemplary output that I myself actually have generated with the OpenAI's GPT-o1 model. And as you can see, I got the output format structure followed, and I got the key talking points, even a suggested opening question. How are you currently handling the growing demands on your operations team, especially around manual tasks that might be limiting your productivity? So in that regard, we understand, all right, actually, even though I'm not really a technical person, I could do this because it's simply typing into your AI chat tool, be it ChatGPT, be it Gemini, Claude, Mistral, whatever you're using, you could get started with that right away, following an approach as suggested here. Quickly, you would realize, wow, prompt engineering is key here. So the quality of the prompt is quite critical. That, I agree, is also the most technical part of this exercise. It takes iteration and testing to get it right. It's just like that. But you can right away start it if you're enthusiastic about it. It's actually quite fun. Another question that quickly emerges is, hey, can we like test some more features, such as, isn't it possible that we have some more context in the prompt, or can we do like a little more personalization? And yeah, sure, that would be absolutely possible. For instance, let's assume we have more data available on Sarah Chen. We know that uh, we have a quite casual, or she prefers a more casual style of conversation. Then we can wire that into the system, such as basically providing it here with the user prompt. What should be the style of the words that are being used? We could also provide a lot more context about our product, right? This is just one sentence about our flagship product. That's a little bit too little, isn't it? We could also provide a lot more information on the company or the industry. Maybe there is some recent news that we want to bake into our opening line. All of that could surely be integrated. It's just a matter of how we want to put it into the user prompt. And here you go. It's absolutely doable. All right, that was our tiny demonstration. And now, since we have seen the prototype, we also wonder, how am I actually making sense of whether that is good or not? Which brings us to the question, how to evaluate the prototype. And one thing that we can for sure look back to is all of the evaluation criteria that we have defined when we defined the use case and evaluated the use case. Potentially, we have put some assumptions with it, and we now can check whether, in terms of the value proposition that we expected this overall tool to propose for us, whether that is actually valid or not. And another thing that we can focus on, we have shown that in our prompt engineering class as well, is how to actually evaluate the outcome of a prompt. And that means the response of a prompt, we all know it can suffer from hallucination. So is it actually factual? Do I find a given information that I have expected there? And many other things as well. The evaluation framework that you see here is an example. OpenAI, for instance, they are offering that. We're not affiliated or whatsoever. I don't mean to make a commercial for OpenAI here. In fact, the other major providers have it too, be it Google, Anthropic, and so on. This is just an example how this could look like, and it's something that I want to stress, that you should certainly make up your mind on how do I want to make up my mind about whether the response that I get from a large language model or any AI tool meets my expectations. And as we see here, factuality or comparing a model's response with a ground truth could be just one example, could be one or two examples. We could also check whether it has a given output structure. We could check whether there is some specific text, the sentiment, and whatnot. Indeed, we are actually recommending you to follow as you write these prompts and as you go about the experiments. Go through an iterative workflow. This is just a generic, let's say, iterative workflow for systematically assessing and improving prompts on both input and output level, because sure, the output heavily relies on how well you have formulated the input, and therefore you should have some evaluation at hand that, once analyzed, can provide you some actionable recommendation on how to adjust the prompt, and then check again the generated response and evaluate again. And if it's good enough, you can go with it. All right. And this is it for today's session. Again, maybe to sum it up, what have we seen? We have understood what could be potential use cases. Where do we take these use cases from? Do we want to anchor them in the data, in the AI, or probably better in the user's problems? How do you evaluate all of the different ideas that could come up, and how do we potentially in a team setup take decisions in a structured way on what could be the next best project that we want to tackle? And if we have an understanding on what project we want to tackle next, how do we actually get going with prototyping? And if prompt engineering or prompting in general is such a good idea, how do we actually do it, and how do we evaluate a prompt? We have looked into it as well. So I hope you have had a lot of things for you to take away from this session and can apply some of this knowledge right away as you continue going and mastering AI in sales. Soraya.
All right. Thank you so much for the session. And again, if you would like to learn more about Mastering AI series, we have posted the link on the chat box. We have also shared the application that is open source, where you can test out your use cases, and feel free to give us feedback whenever you have anything in your mind. And follow us on social media, YouTube slash IQTech, and LinkedIn at IQTech as well. So you will not miss any updates from us. I guess that's all for now. And all for this session. If you have any more questions, you can go to our YouTube channel and drop a comment or reach out to us at hi@iku.tech. Thank you and see you again next week.